Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about the modern timeout box, right? And in front of me over here, I have a timeout box that pretty much most people that do trapping are familiar with, right? Everybody is familiar with the timeout box, and this really originates back to all the way back in 2017, back to where David Dean was doing build videos, right? And he used a lot of these timeout boxes in his builds, right? And to be honest, these timeout boxes, even now to 2020, are still extremely effective, right? However, this particular video is going to help try to modernize one of the classic techniques of trapping, right? Which is these timeout boxes, right? And I'm going to show you exactly how it's been modernized to the current patch such that it can actually kill smashers extremely effectively, right? And hopefully by the end of the video I can show you how it's done. Alright? So exactly how this timeout box works is that where a husk is in this position over here, they're going to want to walk around here. This tar pit can slow them down, right? And then this wall launcher will launch them all the way into here, which then they would do massive damage in here. So what this does is that the wall launcher itself is going to buy extra time for the husk, right? So they're going to take more damage, right? Buying more time always allows for more damage, right? And this is not only done from the wall launcher, but it's also done with the tar pit, right? And buying more time, right? Because the more time you have with the husk, the more damage you can do, right? And that's pretty much the general philosophy of how we try to trap. The more time we buy, the more damage we can do, right? Now, of course, there's some of us, right, which you've seen in many of my builds where I buy as much time as I can to the point where I don't do damage, right? Now, those are kind of extreme cases, right, with recycling, and then people do jail builds, install builds, and all that, right? So I won't get into that. I'm going to go into general damage over time, right? So this is pretty much how it's done, right? With the tar pit here, with the wall launcher, they buy a lot of time, and even the broadsides themselves can also add extra time with the impact, right? So this is pretty much the classic timeout box, right? And what I'm going to try to do is take this exact same technique and modernize it, right? I'm going to modernize it in such a way where it's going to actually really help kill those smashers, right? Because right now it's actually not really that effective for the smashers, because if a smasher is on this side of the tile, they can get staggered from the wall launcher. Not 100% guaranteed, but it can get staggered. So if a stagger is successful, they would land in this tile over here, right? Which is going to do much, right? And maybe the hitbox might activate the wall dart, the broadsides in here a little bit. The wall dart will activate still, but that's pretty much the best it can do, right? Now we can also do a little thing that I've been doing in many of my builds, which is of course using these little half walls, right? So using these little half walls in here, a smasher is going to be guaranteed to be on the edge in here, right? And once they're on the edge in here, if a stagger is successful, they can be launched into here, right? Which then they can do the full damage amount of these traps, right? Which is great. Now there's still another problem in here, right? And the problem is that the wall launchers themselves may not be strong enough to always stagger the smasher into here, right? So that, in my opinion, is a problem, right? And what we're going to do is try to fix that, right? And I really want them to be staggered into here to do tons of damage. Not only that, but I also want them to do as much damage as I can to the smashers, right? Really nuke the smashers, right? And this is pretty much the goal of these timeout boxes I'm going to design, is to kill the smashers in your tunnels, right? So what we're going to do is actually I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to remove that, right? And the goal for me is to nuke the smashers, right? And what I mean by nuke is actually use the ceiling zappers. Now the ceiling zappers received a massive buff where they do tons of damage, right? And this crit number is insanely high, of course. So I'm going to do this, right, with the ceiling zappers. Now, a lot of people may not agree with the ceiling zappers, right? And you say, well, if you're doing a tar pit over here, you can use a gas trap, right? A gas trap. Now, if you're going to be staggering the smasher into this tile over here, right, and to the point where the hitbox is no longer in this tile in here, the gas trap itself may not really be that effective for that situation, right? But the ceiling zapper will instantly hit them, right? It'll instantly hit them, basically. Now another thing too is that you can also consider ceiling electric fields, which are also a really great option, because not only that they target in this tile in here, but they also target everything in this tile as well, as long as you're in the two tile here. Excuse me. Or you can also be a little bit higher in here, so you can also put a electric field in here, which is also perfectly fine too, right? So you can also do that too, which is perfectly fine, right? So if you want to, you can use the ceiling electric fields, right? Or you can use the ceiling zappers. I'm going to use the ceiling zappers because I really want to nuke the smashers, right? In your regular trap tunnels, of course, you can, if you want to, you can just use the ceiling electric fields, right? Now, instead of using a wall launcher, because no matter what wall launcher you use, even at the 5 times impact, the impact threshold is not going to be enough, right? Because what we're going to do is calculate this, right? So it's about 16,000 multiplied by 1.9, right? Or maybe 2, right? And it's going to be end up to 32,000, so like 30,000. So it's going to be about 30,000 impact, and it's still not going to be enough for the smashers at the very high level, right? So what we're going to need is something with a lot more kick. What I mean by a lot more kick is something called the wall light. So instead of using the wall launchers in here, I'm going to use the wall light, and the wall light is what's really going to make the difference, right? At the endurance levels, right, we are actually going to be using the 4 times impact single reload wall light with the effect duration, right? For if you're not using that, right, you can use the regular one. So the regular one would be the double reload, right? So a little bit more frequent for the lower levels, right? And I would have to calculate exactly how low it has to be, but it should cover pretty much everything in the regular missions all the way up to like power level 170-ish maybe, right? But 4 times impact, right, definitely is going to be enough, right? Definitely going to be enough for the endurance levels at 1 player difficulty. So that's what I'm going to need to use it in here, right? I'm going to cheat a little bit and get a little bit more structures. Hold on. Alright. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is also try to add more damage in here, right? So not only that this wall light is going to be instantly staggering the smasher into this tile in here, but it's going to also allow for more damage because now you can add a wall dart behind it, right? And the wall darts do massive damage to the smashers, right? And pretty much all the husks in general, right? So that's why I'm going to be trying to squeeze in as much damage as I can with the wall darts in here, right? So I'm going to utilize this hole and shoot through the hole, all right? And then I can also do a dynamo, right? So the dynamo with the low floor, right? The low wall is always going to let the wall dart pass through 100%, right? No matter what. So that's good, right? With the hole, it's not guaranteed, right? It's like 70% or something like that, or even 60%, something really kind of lower, but it's still enough to be reliable, right? And then we're gonna put in the broadside in here, right? Just like usual, right? So essentially, we're gonna nuke them so much in here to the point where they're not gonna really have much health, at least for the lower levels. And the endurance levels, right, all we're going to do is copy and paste this exact same build every single tile of the way, right? So what we're doing is adding tons of damage into a really short distances. And that's pretty much the goal of these timeout boxes, to add tons of damage into short distances, right? Now what I'm going to do is, I ran out of structures. Hold on. There we go. So I'm going to do, put the broadsides back, and instead of using the retractables, a lot of people like retractables for damage, right? The flame grills is something that is really underrated in this patch, right? From my testing, the flame grills, what they do is that they do the damage like here as before, right? So as you can see, the damage in here is actually kind of lower than the retractables right now, right? Even with the 12-second reload, because mine are not reload. However, right, once they tick, right, they're going to do this exact damage, right, but they does 7 additional ticks with the effect duration, right? So as long as you have the effect duration, this will do 7 additional ticks, right? And these ticks are 25% damage each for a total of 175 additional damage, right? So essentially you're pretty much tripling the total damage of the flame grill, right, on average, right? Almost triple, right? So that triple amount is going to be much more than retractable floor spikes, way more, right? Even though this has a longer reload, right? But the idea is that we're going to want to nuke the smashers, right? We want to nuke the smashers. So with that in mind, right, we can actually do tons of damage, and also each individual tick can crit, right? So each individual tick can crit independently of the initial damage, right? So that means that this damage is actually going to be really reliable whether or not the initial hit crits or not, because you can have 7 additional hits which can crit and may not crit, right? So the average damage on this thing is going to be very reliable, right? So this is pretty much the timeout box that I've been using, right? With the wall dart through the hole, the wall dart on the other side with the dynamo, and the broadsides with the ceiling zappers, right? And this is pretty much what I've been doing. You can of course replace the ceiling zappers with the ceiling electric fields, right, if you want more AoE damage. But this is how I've been using these timeout boxes, right? And I've been doing this on the Valley Amplifier, and I had at least 5 runs using these timeout boxes, right? And so far from every single run, no smasher has ever made it to the amplifier, assuming I had the supercharged traps on, right? So it has been very, very good, and it's actually extremely reliable, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you it in my building here, right? So as you can see, I have holes all across here with the wall lights, and then there's going to be the wall darts in each hole, as you can see, right? And they shoot through the hole, right? And in this particular one, we're going to stagger them exactly in here and then nuke them, right? Nuke them once again here. This one can also stagger them back to here, which can buy more time, right? More time, again, more damage. And this one here can stagger them right in here, right? Which did zap them, right? Stagger them here, zap them, stagger in here, zap them, right? And what's amazing about this is that you're utilizing the property of the wall light, which would always stagger the smasher, right? At 4 times impact, right? And that's what's really making this build amazing, because it's guaranteed to always get them into timeout box, right? But yeah, that is how I've been using this, right? And I can show several clips of it, right, of it in action in my Valley build, but you don't have to really just use it for Twine Endurance, right? You can pretty much use it for any building mission, right? Pretty much any building mission, right? That you want to use the traps to kill the smashers, right? And this has been very, very well, working very, very well. And perhaps maybe you can also use this in some other future game types that might come out, right? Which will require building. You don't have much distance, and you still want the traps to kill the smashers. And I think this could be one really amazing method for killing them. All right, so yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to share with you guys. I didn't want to make the video too long, right? But in the next video, which I will release in a couple days, maybe even tomorrow, which is going to help save tiles on all your builds in the Twine Endurance, right? Because I know people have been struggling with the tiles, right? So I'm going to try to show you methods of how to save even more tiles, right? Even more tiles, tile savings, right? Everyone loves tile savings. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's also one more thing I want to say before I conclude the video, which is that for my Valley amplifier, right, the most difficult thing to deal with is actually not the smashers, right? The smashers are kind of like the secondary. In my opinion, the most difficult thing to deal with is the nurse husk, right? So as you can see, I have tons of ceiling zappers here. Normally I would do ceiling fields, right, or even drop traps, right, or something like that, or with AoE, right? And you can see I'm just putting ceiling zappers all around it, right? Which seems really odd. Like, why am I spamming so much single target damage in here? And I'm not even using the reload ones. I'm using the straight up just pure crit damage and stuff like that, right? Why am I spamming so much, right? And this actually has to do with the nurse husk, right? So the nurse husk, right, at power level 209, which is going to be wave 25, is going to have a health of approximately 860,000, right? It's going to have a 860,000 health. You can look at all this information at the link below, right? There's going to be a spreadsheet, which this guy did a lot of testing for the health of the husks, right? And I actually was able to verify a lot of these numbers, right? I was able to verify a lot of these numbers doing extreme testing, right? Getting the health, trying to accurately represent the health, and it's actually been matching his numbers. So because of that, I'll trust this chart, right? Because I don't want to spend that much time doing that, right? So I'll trust this chart and what it's saying, and it's going to be exactly 857,625, right? But these are approximations, because he's probably doing this some sort of interpolation, right? I'm not sure if it's a quadratic interpolation or a exponential interpolation. I'm not 100% sure on how he's doing it, right? But essentially, though, I'm going to trust his numbers, and so it's going to be approximately that much health. Now, with that in mind, right, what I need to do is that if there's going to be 3 nurse husks, which can be possible, if there's 3 nurse husks are all crowded together, it is impossible to kill them. Basically, it's nearly impossible, because by the time you even try to nuke them down to like a third of their health, they instantly recover all their health, pretty much, right? And it's really hard to deal with them. So the only way you can deal with those nurse husks when they have 3 of them spawn together is, 1, to crowd control them so that they're out of your tunnels, right? That can be hard to do. Given if you want it to be reliable, right? It can be really hard to do that in some situations, to make sure the nurse husks are never in your tunnels where the smashers can go in. Or you could try to nuke them, right? You can try to nuke them, and the only possible way to nuke them is to use this ceiling zapper, right? So you can see this critical hit damage number is going to be 784,000, right? And it's just a little bit lower than the 860,000, right? So I need to put supercharged traps. So once I put the supercharged traps, this crit damage number is actually going to be enough to nuke the husk, right? And I actually don't really care about the regular damage over here. I only care about this critical hit damage, because this is what's going to really nuke that nurse husk in one single hit, right? It doesn't matter if I only kill one of them. If I kill one out of the 3, that makes it extremely easier to deal with, right? It makes it way easier to deal with. When I nuke 2 of them, right, and it's even better, right? Because 1 nurse husk is not a problem. 2 nurse husks can be is kind of like iffy, but it's not too much of a big deal. 3 of them is pretty much disaster, right? So as long as I kill one of the 3 nurse husks that can spawn, then I'm good, right? And that's pretty much the goal of this. This is just to kill those nurse husks, right? And if I kill one of them successfully in that 33% chance, then my build will be fine, right? It'll be 100% fine. And that's all I'm trying to do, pretty much, right? Now, I could try to change this to some sort of crowd control such that it would keep at least one of them away, right? So I could try to adapt it in such a way, but for now this has been working fine, right? But if I do, it'll probably be a cheaper build, right? It'll probably be a cheaper build than all this nuking that's going to happen in here, right? But yeah, that's something I'm experimenting with. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, right? And again, this is kind of like the modernized take on the timeout box, right? And the timeout box, it could have been developed by David Dean or some other YouTuber, but I'm pretty sure David Dean was pretty much one of the first that really utilized it and popularized it. But yeah, and thank you for watching, guys. And as always, have fun building.